High honors for 3 Americans and a Briton who thwarted a French train attack. A green energy initiative in Kenya powers a community. And street artist Banksy is at it again. But is this art, or is he just trolling? Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Topping our broadcast, French President Francois Hollande on Monday bestowed the Legion of Honor, France's highest decoration on 3 Americans and a Briton who subdued a heavily armed Moroccan-born gunman aboard a high-speed train on Friday. At a ceremony in Paris, Mr. Hollande pinned medals on the chests of Americans Spencer Stone, Alec Scalators, Anthony Sadler, and Briton Chris Norman. He says the actions last week in the face of terror provided a message of courage, solidarity, and hope. The president also honored a French citizen who first discovered the gunman as the train sped toward Paris. A U.S. Air Force airman was wounded in the attack. He, Scalators, and Sadler were passengers on the train and bolted from their seats to take down the suspect. Well, here's viewers Jeff Castor with more on the heroic act that likely saved many lives.
The 3 Americans, Spencer Stone, Alex Scarlatus, and Anthony Sadler, spoke to the media Sunday from the U.S. Embassy in Paris. U.S. Ambassador to France Jane Hartley said the men are heroes in the truest sense of the word.
These 3 brave young Americans, along with the French and British passenger, demonstrated remarkable bravery and acted without regard for their own safety in order to subdue a heavily armed individual who appeared intent on causing mass casualties.
U.S. Air Force Airman Stone was hospitalized after being slashed in the neck and hand by the attacker with a box cutter. He described how he awoken from a deep sleep to see the gunman in the aisle of the train.
And I turned around and I saw he had what looked to be an AK-47, and he looked like it was jammed or it wasn't working, and he was trying to charge the weapon. And Alec just hit me on the shoulder to say, "Let's go," and ran down, tackled him. We hit the ground. Alec came up and grabbed the gun out of his hand while I put him in a chokehold.
Scarlatus, Stone, and American student Sadler were joined by Briton Chris Norman in subduing the Moroccan-born gunman, who seriously wounded at least 1 passenger before he was swarmed. Amateur cell phone video showed the aftermath of the attack. When asked what they had learned from the experience, Sadler said he believes that in times of crisis, it is better to act rather than not.
Hiding or sitting back is not going to accomplish anything, and the gunman would have been successful if my friend Spencer had not gotten up.
Spanish authorities said they have identified the attacker as 26-year-old Ayoub El-Kazani, who had spent time in Syria during the past year. He boarded the train in Brussels shortly before the attack Friday. The attack took place as the train sped through Belgium with 554 people on board. After the incident, the train was diverted to northern France. Jeff Custer, VOA News, Washington.
In East Africa, 5 suspects appeared in a Kenyan court Monday over the militant attack on Garissa University, which left more than 148 people dead. Hooded gunmen stormed the Kenyan college campus in the northeastern town in the early hours of April the 2nd, triggering explosions and exchanging gunfire with security services for several hours, chilling survivor testimonies recounting how gunmen from Somalia's Al-Shabaab terrorist group hunted down and killed the students, shocked the world and brought international condemnation. The magistrate requested the accused to be produced in court on September the 1st. In West Africa, suspected Boko Haram terrorists ambushed a convoy carrying the Nigerian Army's chief of staff on a tour of towns in troubled Borno State early on Sunday. The army says 1 Nigerian soldier died while 10 militants were killed and another 5 captured. Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai was appointed to the Chief of Staff post in July after President Muhammadu Buhari sacked the military's top officials. Now to Europe, the European migrant situation just keeps getting worse. Italy's Coast Guard says its navy rescued 3,000 migrants off the coast of Libya over the weekend after responding to requests for help from more than 20 vessels. Italy has been routinely carrying out similar rescues, bringing hundreds of migrants to its shores. But the scale of Saturday's operation was unusually large. Europe has struggled to cope with an influx of migrants, and more than 2,300 people have died trying to reach Europe this year. Now, for more on the migrant crisis, Itai Viriri, a spokesperson with the International Organization of Migration, joins me live via Skype from Geneva, Switzerland. Now, Viriri, welcome to Africa 54. The question is, do you see an end to this crisis in sight anytime soon?
Well, unfortunately, we don't see any end in sight because of what we have been saying all along, that there's lack of coordination amongst the European Union member states. We have called for a more coordinated approach in terms of dealing with the numbers that are arriving. So making sure that all those 250,000 or more that have arrived, mostly in Greece and Italy, can be spread on to the other countries in the rest of the EU. We're talking of an economic bloc with 28 countries. So the common sense will be that they will be able to share these numbers evenly. But what we're seeing so far is that quite a lot of these migrants are either staying in Italy or Greece, and very few are managing to continue on to go to countries like Germany, Sweden, or the UK.
Now, this has been going on for a long time now. What has been impeding any kind of concrete, comprehensive strategy or plan by the Europeans?
Well, some countries have not been very forthcoming in terms of taking up as many numbers as they could. So, for example, countries like Hungary have said that they are not interested in taking in numbers per capita on a per capita basis. So that means that then the burden remains on the likes of Italy and Greece. And so far, we're seeing, the numbers that are trying to reach, say, for example, the UK, where the situation in Calais, you're only talking of a very, very small number comparatively. Less than 5,000. And if you consider that Greece has received over 150,000 and Italy 100,000, then you can see the scale of the kind of support and assistance that those two countries need from the rest of the EU.
Now, Itai, is it just me seeing things this way, or are these numbers increasing, at least in the last few months?
They certainly have. Normally every year, I would say in the last 5 or 6 years, the summer season is when these journeys, migrants make these journeys because the sea is a bit calmer, not as rough and choppy as it is in the winter. So we always expect this to happen. But certainly the numbers are right now projected to be much higher than they've been in recent years. And already we've also been talking of high death rates, of people trying to cross the Mediterranean. So far, over 2,300 have died, whereas the whole of last year, 3,000, or just over 3,200 people died. So, we were trying to sort of figure out how and why the numbers are going as high as they are. Obviously, we're also looking at protracted conflicts around the world, with the addition now of Yemen.
Now, question is, do you get a sense of why people persist despite of all these tragic stories on the Mediterranean?
I think it's desperation. It just shows how desperate people are to get away from whether it's conflict or countries where there's human rights abuses, countries where there are, they just find that it's untenable for them to stay. So we speak to some of the people who make these journeys and those who survive the crossings, and they tell of situations where they feel they had no other choice. And I think that realization still hasn't reached some of the decision makers in Europe to really realize how desperate and people have no other opportunity, or they feel that they have no other opportunity to survive. So you get that sense that even if they know what has happened to others who have not made it, or the difficulties of actually staying in Europe, because sometimes they're not guaranteed to be allowed to stay in Europe, they still would make the journeys anyway.
Well, thank you very much, Itai, for giving us your perspectives. Itai Viriri is the spokesperson for the International Organization of Migration. He joined us live via Skype from Geneva, Switzerland. In 2013, U.S. President Barack Obama launched the multi-year Power Africa initiative to increase the availability of electricity in sub-Saharan Africa, where millions of people live, have little or no access to reliable power. Lenny Rovago reports on one initiative on the outskirts of Nairobi that is converting human waste into electricity.
This is Mukuru Kwanjenga, a slum of about 100,000 people on the outskirts of Nairobi. Most of its residents do not have electricity. Those who do are illegally connected. Amos Nguru is the brains behind an innovation that generates electricity from human waste. 2 years ago, Nguru received a Power Africa grant funded by General Electric and the United States African Development Foundation. The gas generator produces 15 kilowatts of electricity, enough to power the nearby school and serve the local community. Nguru says the project helps meet the needs of the community.
Mukuru Kwanjenga has power challenges, going by the fact that they have a lot of illegal connections, so power keeps on going on and off. And then they also have a sanitation problem.
The Mukuru Kwanjenga Primary School, with about 2,000 students, now gets its electricity from Nguru's project after disconnecting from the old power source. School administrator Deborah Mwandengina says there were too many illegal connections to the school's power supply, which incurred bills the school was unable to foot.
We've been having challenges with the slums, and time and again they hack our power systems and they disconnect illegally to their homes, and we've been having such challenges. So we just decided we cannot live without electricity. It can't do us any good. So we decided to disconnect.
Student Doreen Kemunto, who lives in the slum, is glad her school has access to clean energy. Her mother says darkness no longer limits Doreen's studies.
Before the electricity was there, our children could not be able to learn since they could not come to school that early and leave at late because the school was very dark and they could not be able to learn.
According to the World Bank, only 23% of Kenya's population has access to electricity. Lenny Ruvaga for VOA News, Nairobi.
Well, the U.S. presidential election is more than a year away, and the campaign is in the stage of being personality-driven. This year, more than ever, the strongest, wildest comments get the most traction, especially on the Republican side. VOA's Caroline Presutti tells us more.
This is what the word grandstanding looks like. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump arrived in his personal helicopter to campaign at the Iowa State Fair. One youngster thought he was Batman. Trump might not be a superhero, but he is the Republican frontrunner who gets the most publicity because of what he says.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
The entertainment culture has taken over the political culture.
Political historian Alan Lichtman says personalities are leading the publicity because there are 17 Republican candidates for the party's nomination, and each is trying to stand out. Like former Governor Mike Huckabee on the Holocaust.
3 times I've been to Auschwitz. When I talked about the oven door, I have stood at that oven door. I know exactly what it looks like.
And retired neurosurgeon Ben Carson on illegal immigration.
If they came over here and did that, we can still keep them together by packaging them up and sending them back.
The smart money has said Donald Trump is a flash in the pan. He's going to fade away. The Republicans always nominate the establishment guy. But that may not happen this year because the establishment guy, Jeb Bush, has run such a lackluster campaign.
Lichtman says presidential campaigns eventually focus more on differences in policy, but that might not happen anytime soon, since the Republican candidates don't disagree on much. Caroline Presutti, VOA News, Washington.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Now, coming up, will new wearable technology improve road safety? Stay with us to find out.
I'm Jeff Selden, and I work the National Security Beat. National security beat is anything that affects the national security of the United States, from counterterrorism to surveillance to even relations with Russia. It's one of the most fascinating beats you can have. It's probably one of the more important beats that you can cover because it touches on so many areas of the world, so many areas of people's day-to-day lives. I'm Jeff Selden, and my beat is national security.
Welcome back. Fatal traffic accidents are up by 4.5% in Kenya compared to last year. That's according to Kenya's Transport Authority. A Nairobi-based wearable tech company has created a smart way to improve road safety on the busy, bustling streets of the nation's capital. VOA's Caroline Turner has more.
With a growing economy and increased vehicles on the streets, more Nairobi residents are opting for the two-wheel mode of transportation. Their size means they can easily squeeze through traffic. But the popularity comes at a cost. Accidents have led to the loss of many lives, some due to motorcycle drivers ignoring road rules, others due to drivers not spotting the bikes. On average, each year, 3,000 people are killed and another 10,000 are injured in traffic accidents. 29-year-old Joseph Kiriyiku has been a motorcycle taxi operator for 5 years. He's had several near-death experiences.
Many of our people die, most deaths being caused by motor vehicles on the road. Most motor vehicle drivers do not respect us on the road. They would rather not brake and risk hitting the car in front, but would rather hit the guy on the bike.
Charles Muchin, the CEO of Nairobi-based wearable tech company Cladlight, decided to solve this problem by creating a smart jacket, which links up to a motorcycle indicator system.
One of the ideas that came up is to increase the visibility of an individual motorcyclist by just elevating their indication system, which is lowly placed due to the size of the motorcycle naturally. So now putting the indication system on the jacket, that elevates it, and as a motorist, you can now see the indication system clearly in case of braking or turning left or right.
With a sensor fixed under the motorcycle seat into its existing indicator system, a wireless connection automatically connects the jacket to the vehicle's lights.
This is the transmitter circuit that is installed on the bike. It's a less than 5 minutes installation. So basically I use bullet connectors and just plug into the already existing indication system.
The director of safety at the National Transport and Safety Authority says the smart jacket could encourage young people to embrace safety.
I'm sure upon release in the market, we see many people wanting to look cool in this kind of jackets. It's perfectly within the law for them to have a jacket that has indicators for both, directional and the brake lights. It should be consistent with what we have on the rest of the motor vehicle, so I do not foresee a problem in its use.
Muchin and his company hope to eventually supply their technology across East Africa, improving road safety in the process. Carolyn Turner, VOA News.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, street artist Banksy's new installation creates a big buzz in the UK. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Mali, Tuareg rebels say they're pulling out of the peace accord monitoring group after deadly clashes sent tensions soaring. In Kenya, 5 men accused of carrying out an attack on a Kenyan university in which 148 people were killed appear in court in the capital, Nairobi.
This is torture.
Amnesty International says that Burundi security forces tortured members of the political opposition during President Nkurunziza's successful bid for a 3rd term in office. Finally, in Nigeria, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon lays a wreath at the bomb site of a 2011 attack on the UN headquarters in Abuja. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. A happy surprise in Washington, D.C. tops our list of what's trending today. Giant panda Mei Xiong is the proud mother of not one, but two tiny cubs. The giant of the twin pandas born Saturday at Washington's National Zoo may not be known for a month, but both appear to be thriving. A peek at the cubs might be available throughout the online Giant Panda Cam, but it has been overwhelmed in recent hours. Public access to the cubs at the zoo remains several months away. Mei Xiong's babies are the third set of twins born alive in the United States. Well, next up, a banner year for Ed Sheeran. The British singer topped Spotify's list of the top 25 most influential artists under the age of 25 as the company's most streamed artist of 2014. Ariana Grande, Sam Smith, Miley Cyrus and One Direction rounded out the top 5 young artists. The list is based on total streams, but also on #1 hits, volume and growth of streams over the past year, and Spotify's viral chart. Well, and finally, street artist Banksy pulls off one of his most ambitious installations ever. Disneyland features artwork by more than 50 artists, including discrepant castle graffiti and artwork of a dead princess in a coach crash. And the amusement park is filled with political and postmodern artwork and features biting commentary on pop culture, consumerism and vulgarity in general. Now, the British press is sharply divided over Banksy's stunt, with some reporters hailing Disneyland as a work of genius and others describing it as a crude and juvenile. And that is what is trending today. Now, Matthew Heinemann's documentary, Cartel Land, is made of the stuff many Americans watch in Western movies. Only this narrative is for real. Two vigilante groups, one in the United States and the other in Mexico, fight a common enemy, drug cartels. VOA's Penelope Pulu has more.
In the middle of the night, meth cooks get to work in the desert of the western Mexican state of Michoacán.
Estaba un par de americanos, era papá y hijastro.
No, this is not a scene from the wildly popular American TV drama series Breaking Bad. This is a real moment in Matthew Heinemann's documentary, Cartel Land.
The head chef, the head cook, the head of this operation started showing me around the process of cooking meth with this little flashlight. And with this little flashlight is what I ended up lighting the scene with.
Heinemann offers a first-hand account into the lives of the drug cartels and the vigilantes on both sides of the border trying to defend their communities against the drug trade.
In Mexico, the violence is visceral, it's real. 80,000 people killed since 2007. 20,000 plus people disappeared since 2007.
According to the documentary, the state of Michoacán is the epicenter of this violence. Dr. José Mireles is a leader of the Autodefensas, a Mexican vigilante group trying to rid of the cartel.
There's countless times when I felt in extreme danger.
Heinemann shows Michoacán communities tired of the fear and the corruption lawlessness brings. The army, trying to re-establish order, confiscates the weapons of the townsfolk. But Heinemann's film makes one simple point.
El lugar donde más drogas se ven, que es Estados Unidos. Todo Estados Unidos.
On the American side of the border in Arizona, Tim Naylor Foley, an Army veteran, has formed his own controversial group to fight the illegal drug trade.
Back in the day, vigilante wasn't a bad thing. Say the bandits was riding into your town, the townspeople would all get together and, defend their town.
He has taken it upon himself to ensnare illegal immigrants, some of whom are believed to smuggle drugs, and hand them over to U.S. government border patrols.
This is what I consider to be the Wild Wild West. There is nothing down here. There's no law. I'm supposed to be able to pick up my telephone and go, 911, come help us.
You look up on the hillsides and there's cartel scouts looking down on you. You know, you listen to the scrambled radio traffic that they have, and you can hear the cartel talking about you. You can hear them pushing drugs through the valley.
Heinemann says U.S. border patrols feel undermanned, understaffed, and underfunded. He says both the U.S. government and the vigilantes feel locked in a sort of David and Goliath battle with the cartels as Goliath.
Vamos a hacer más. Porque esto no se va a acabar, ¿o sí? ¿A que no, vatos? No, claro que no. Apenas va a empezar lo bueno.
Penelope Pulu, VOA News, Washington.
Well, it's time now for a Monday Sports Report, and for the latest news and notes, we turn to Sonny Young with the sunny side of sports. Hello, Sonny.
Hello, Vincent, and sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. Here's a sunny side of sports salute to 19-year-old Eritrean athlete Ghirmay Ghebreslassie, who made history over the weekend at the World Championships in China. In the first event in Beijing, the men's marathon, the Eritrean teenager took top honors, clocking a winning time of 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 28 seconds. He is the first athlete from Eritrea to win gold at the World Championships. Ghirmay was handed the Eritrean flag as he entered Beijing National Stadium, nicknamed the Bird's Nest, and he looked ready to take flight as he ran down the track. Ghirmay says the gold medal is very special to him and gives him extra motivation ahead of next year's Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. In action Monday in Beijing, Kenya won gold medals in the women's 10,000 meters and the men's 3,000 meters steeplechase events. Ezekiel Kemboi captured his fourth consecutive world title in the steeplechase, leading a Kenyan sweep of the medals with a winning time just over 8 minutes and 11 seconds. And in the women's 10,000 meters final, Vivian Chariot waved the Kenyan flag high with a winning time just over 31 minutes and 41 seconds. It was Vivian's fourth world title. She also has another 10,000 meters gold and 2 5,000 meters gold in her big trophy cabinet. I'm VOA Sonny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports. Vincent?
Well, thanks a lot, Sonny. Be sure to watch Sonny's fantastic sports segments every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54. That's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com for more news. Tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute, where we teach you all about idioms in American English. Have you ever heard the American English idiom, once in a blue moon? It doesn't mean that the moon is blue, so let's listen to this American English conversation to find out how it is used.
Where did you say your brother lives? He lives all the way in Minnesota, so I never get to see him. I only get to see him once in a blue moon.
Once in a blue moon is a common way of saying that something does not happen often. But what is a blue moon? We typically see a full moon once a month, and seeing 2 full moons in the same month is rare. The second full moon in a particular month is called a blue moon. Once in a blue moon is an informal phrase, and that's English in a Minute.